What's up, guys? How you doing today? My name is Jose Colorado. I am a 5-year professional basketball player, and today I want to talk to you about La Liga Mayor in El Salvador. Now, earlier I actually did a video on El Salvador basketball where we covered both of the leagues, the LSB, the Liga Superior de Baloncesto, and the LMB, the Liga Mayor de Baloncesto. I'll link that right here so that you guys can click on it if you want to see the comparisons between the two because they do vary quite a bit. But just know for today's video, I'll only be covering the Liga Mayor de Baloncesto, the LMB. Now, for me, the LMB is the premier league in El Salvador, and I think this is a really interesting league for a lot of import players who would like to get involved in professional basketball, who like to get involved in Central America, who are thinking about how they can take their career and take it to the next level. There's actually a few interesting ideas and prospects playing in El Salvador that a lot of players actually aren't aware of for the most part. And I've been playing here for the past 5 years of my career, so I know this place like the back of my hand. So let's get right into it. In El Salvador, there's 2 seasons. Now, the first season, Apertura, runs from approximately February to about June. Now, the second season goes from about August to December or late November. Now, that's called Clausura. If I could choose between playing in Clausura or Apertura, I would play in Clausura because at the end of the season, there is a special tournament that can really benefit a lot of players, but we'll get into that in a bit. Now, in terms of the teams in El Salvador, in the Liga Mayor de Baloncesto, as of today, there are 11 teams in the LMB. When you think of the LMB and the team structure, you basically can split into 2 categories. The top tier teams, where they pay a bit more, and the lower tier teams, where they're not obviously paying as much. For the top tier teams, these are the teams that are going to pay you higher salaries, give you better film, give you better courts, better playing conditions, give you better lifestyles, a whole bunch of things. These are the teams that you really want to shoot for if you're playing in the LMB or you want to play in the LMB. And those 5 teams, are Santa Tecla, Brujos, Metapon, where I actually play, Casaltepeque, there's a 5th one that I'm forgetting right now, San Salvador, that's right. Now, when you're talking about salaries, I actually did a blog on this. I posted this on my website where we surveyed 100 players who played in El Salvador, import players. And what we came to determine was that the most common salary range in El Salvador itself was $1,500 to $1,999, with the lowest salary range being below $500, the highest being above $5,000. Now, this is per month in USD. Everything I'm saying right now is per month USD. But when you're thinking about that salary range, the problem with that is that you're thinking of El Salvador as a whole. El Salvador, when you combine the LSB and the LMB, because both leagues are federated, both leagues are recognized by FIBA, so you had to consider both. Now, if we're only considering the LMB, the salaries will be higher. The salaries as a total will be higher. And in particular, when you're thinking of only the LMB, in those first 5 teams, you're going to have higher salary ranges. You're looking at about, I would say the minimum for those teams would have to be 1,500, with a maximum being of about 3,000 or so, or 3,500 around there. Now, I've seen a bunch of players go to those teams and they'll only play for maybe a quarter of the season. They'll bring them in late in the season, but they'll pay them a higher salary, $4,000 or so. Now, that's obviously going to offset them coming in earlier in the season. Say, for instance, if they came at the start of preseason and then you had to pay them $4,000 a month, that's going to take a lot of money to pay for them, especially in that market in El Salvador. So for a lot of players, what they'll do is they'll just come about halfway through the season, a quarter left in the season, and they'll get a higher salary range. Now, in the LMB, there is a salary cap. That salary cap is set at $9,000. The thing is, a lot of teams in the LMB actually will not use that full $9,000. In fact, it is rare that the teams outside of the top 5 would actually use that full $9,000. Now, when you're talking about the 5 top teams, San Salvador, Tecla, Brujos, Metapon, Casalte. All those teams are going to use the full $9,000. And in fact, a lot of them will probably work their way to get a little loophole around it, and they'll probably offer you an academy coaching position with their youth clubs. They might give you private sessions to train locals or something like that. They may give you more food money. So there's ways to work around the salary loopholes pretty much. 5 or the 6 bottom teams in El Salvador in terms of pay grade: Cojutepeque, Aguila, Halcones, Chanchuapa, Santa Ana, and there recently was actually just a new team that was introduced called San Vicente. So there are about 6 teams in the lower pay grade pecking order. Now, when you look at these 6 teams, you're about thinking in terms of salary, you're looking from anywhere from playing for a couple of $100, maybe $200 or so, I'd say, all the way up to, I would say, about $1,800 is the maximum you can get. I don't think I've ever heard a player outside of Halcones, because before they had a different board of directors, they had more money before, but now they've changed a lot of it, so they're actually in the lower pay grade now. But I don't think I've ever heard a team in this lower pay grade playing an import player more than $2,000. So you see, there's a huge difference between the two tiers of teams, because in the top 5 tier of teams, you're looking at about minimum $1,500 minimum, whereas in the bottom 5 and 6 teams, you're looking at probably a maximum of about $1,500. Okay, now earlier I mentioned how if I could choose between Clausura and Apertura, I would choose Clausura, because there is a big opportunity at the end of Clausura, and this is known as the Central American Championship. Now, in December, at the end of the year, every professional league in Central America is going to take their winning club from their league, from their domestic professional league, and they're all going to come together and compete in the Central American Championships. So, for instance, Nicaragua is going to take their best team, El Salvador is going to take their best team, Belize is going to take their best team, so on, Honduras, Guatemala, boom. And we all come together and we're going to play in a Central American Championships. Now, the key is with the LMB is that only the LMB can enter their winning team. The LSB does not enter their winning team because, as I mentioned in the comparison video, which I'll link here again, the LSB has fewer resources, less money. They can't afford to actually support a team competing in this big championship. So only the LMB players in the LMB teams can compete in it. Now, this is huge for imports, because if you're looking to get to another league, get a better paying job, get yourself recognized by more players, more scouts, more agents, more managers, more teams, the LMB has a high profile within Central America. So if other countries all the time will do this, where they'll see players playing well in the LMB, and they'll message them and say, hey, come play for the winner from Honduras or Guatemala, and we'll pay you, and you can play in the Central American Championships with us. I've seen that all the time. A couple of players got picked up from El Salvador and they went to the best team in Honduras, and the other team, a couple of players got picked up and went to the best team in Guatemala, and so forth. So that is a great opportunity for you to be seen, for you to gain more highlight film, and for you to increase your profile. Now, the winner of these Central American Championships, whoever wins it, will then go on to what's known now as the Basketball Champions League of Americas, which is pretty much just the best club teams in all the Americas. So we're talking about Venezuela, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Peru. Now we're talking about huge clubs. Puerto Rico. We're talking about massive clubs that can pay a lot, way more than the LMB, El Salvador, or anyone in Central America can pay. So that is huge, because if you can get to not only the Central American Games as an import, it gives you an extra layer to basically be seen by all those Central American leagues. And then you can basically remove that guesswork of they don't know who you are. They don't know if you can compete at their level. Well, they already saw you compete at their level in the Central American Games. So they're going to give you an opportunity, or you'll be more likely, I should say, to get an opportunity than if you didn't. But not only that, after playing in the Central American Games, if you can get to the Champions League, That is when you can really be seen by the top clubs. And if you do well there, if you show out there, then that can just completely change your career and give you a huge stepping stone to bigger life-changing type of money. Now, another thing that you should know, not necessarily between these two tiers of teams, the top paying teams and the lower paying teams, but this applies to all the teams, is there's a trade-off in lifestyle depending on where you go. So I pretty much break it up into two groups. There's pueblos and then there's cities. Now, pueblos are basically like a village or a town. And this applies, by the way, to every type of Latin American basketball country. Chile, I've had friends in Chile, Peru, Venezuela. They all have this difference. So depending on where you go, you can really expect a difference in lifestyle. So for instance, let's start with the pueblos. Now, because these are such small communities, there's not a lot going on over there. There's not a lot of things for entertainment. They really get behind their basketball teams. I mean, a lot of these games are sold out. So in these pueblos, again, you're gonna have fewer things to do just because there's not a lot going on there, but you're gonna be recognized much more for your basketball talents. And that can kind of manifest itself in different things. So at these pueblos, it's much more likely that you'll get for instance, people paying for your food, people stopping you on the streets and congratulating you on games, a lot more fans, a lot more opportunities, media opportunities, things like that. Just because, like I said, you are recognized much more when you're in these smaller towns. Now, in contrast, when you're in a bigger city, when you're in, for instance, let's say San Salvador or Santa Tecla, those are the two big cities in the league. You're going to have, the team is a lot less tailored to you because it's a bigger city. There's more stuff to do. People won't really recognize you on the streets. They won't stop you. There's not a lot of opportunities for you outside of just playing basketball, just because there's so many different things going on, business, tech, soccer is going on, all types of different things, right? So basketball isn't their main priority over there. And there's a lot more things to entertain themselves with. So the fans aren't going to come out as much in those games. So just realize that depending on where you are, it's really going to change a lot in terms of your experience of El Salvador and of the LMB. And the final thing about the LMB that players should know about is the film. They have a media sponsorship and partnership with a company called Tigo Sports, which is basically the best media conglomerate or media company in all of Latin America. And they produce great highlight films, great tape for players. This is going to be just so important for players when they go to present their film and what they've done, their highlights to other teams, other leagues, because it's very clean, it's very professional. I mentioned this in the other comparison video that I produced multiple highlight films for multiple players, and they went on to better leagues in Vietnam, Greece, the Middle East, all over the place. And I basically did very little promotion of it. And one of these films, I checked it the other day, is actually up to near 4,000 views already. These are huge, 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 huge factors. I'll make another video on this another time. But when you are contacting teams, if you do not have good film, you might as well just write yourself off right there, because it is going to be so hard unless you have a contact that personally knows who you are. For me, in the end, what do I think of the LMB? I think this is a great opportunity for a lot of players. As I mentioned in the intro, I've been playing in the LMB for the past 5 years or so. Every year it's been getting a lot better, and the federation actually is one of the best in Central America. There's no denying it. A lot of the leagues in Central America, like Honduras, Guatemala, Costa Rica, they really struggle with putting together a professional league. They struggle with having it consistently year after year. So El Salvador is the only league since I've been in Central America that has consistently been there from the start, year in and year out. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you guys gained something from this. If you liked it, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe. That's going to help the channel so much. And I plan to do a bit more of these in-depth views. If you haven't checked out my other comparison video, go ahead and check it out right here. And pretty soon, I think I'll be doing one on the LSB, Nicaragua, Central America in general, and as well we'll be covering countries all throughout the world and Europe, Asia. So be on the lookout, and thanks so much for tuning in. Take care, guys.